So I've never done this before, but today I'm going to show you how you can create your own insight search with Azure Search. So this is a search service that Azure offers, which allows you to basically have any content and make it searchable. So, for example, think about if you're Goodreads or you're a library service and you have all of this information about the books that you have, but people have a really hard time finding any of that if it's not searchable, because you can't expect people to just sit there and browse through the thousands or hundreds and thousands of books that you have. So we're creating the search index in order to address that issue. And so here you can see I just have 3 JSON files, very simple. All of them have information about a single book. So here just have ID, genre, title, author, description, and rating. So this is the first one. We also have Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which is my favorite, and To Kill a Mockingbird. So all of these, and we're going to throw all of this into a blob storage so that we can then pull from that storage and index all of this content to make it searchable. And one bonus feature that we're going to work on is adding cognitive service to it so that we can actually go through this description and pick out the key phrases that we think are here. So this is called key phrase extraction. And so when people are searching for, so you want to talk about race, maybe they're going to type in a keyword like white supremacy. So how do we make it so that when they're typing that, we can help complete their phrase so that they know that there's kind of content for this phrase, or we know that this phrase can then be mapped to this particular book. So that's also kind of a bonus that we're going to be working on. So these are the JSON files, and I'm going to go to the Azure portal. And this is just a storage account that I've made with all the default settings. And all of this is done with a free trial account. So you don't need anything special to do all of this. And I just named it Public Library Books. In it, now I'm going to create a container. So you can either go from here or you can go from the sidebar. And under blob service, you can just create a container. So I'm just going to go from here, and in it, I've already created a container called library books. So inside there's nothing yet. So let's just upload the 3 JSON files that we want in the blob storage. Upload that, all done. Cool. And now we're going to go back to the container. When we're on this page, you realize that there is a button that lets you just add Azure Search. So let's just go ahead and do that. And in order for you to add a search, you're going to need a search service. So this is something you have to create on the side. You can just create it from this little button here, or you can just go from the portal main page and just create a search service. Again, used all the default settings, nothing special. And I just chose this name, which is Library Search Service. I'm just going to use the one that I already have. And here, there are a couple fields that are mandatory that we have to fill out. So let's go ahead and do that. Data source name is just something that you name. So I'm going to name this library data source. How about that? Then parsing mode, default should know that it's JSON, but I'm just going to change it anyway. And then the connection string by default already ties it to this particular instance, so we're good there. And then container name, I called it library books, so I'm gonna make sure that maps to what I named the blob storage. So now we're gonna go to adding cognitive services. I'm just using the free one, and it already tells you it has limited enrichments. No big deal here. We still get to use the key phrase extraction that I talked about. So here is the source data field. So I'm going to extract those key phrases from the description. That's where I think there's the most value. So I'm going to extract key phrases, and the source that we're pulling from will be the description field. So easy enough. And you can save enrichments to a knowledge store. It lets you do more with it, but I'm not going to do that because I don't really have a need for it. And I'm going to create the index. So in terms of the name, the default one totally works. You can also name it to anything that you want. There's also the key here, and this just needs to be a unique identifier for every kind of file that you have. So this particular one is storage path, and that's metadata that it comes with, and it totally works. It's unique always. So I'm just going to create a suggester, and this is the only search mode, which is analyzing and fixed matching. So nothing really much to do there. I'm going to delete a couple of these metadata that it created for me that were clearly not part of my JSON file that I really don't care for in this particular scenario. And then I'm left with all the things that I want, plus the key phrases that Cognitive Services is going to give us back. So I'm just going to randomly make these I'm just going to check all the boxes. And then, cool. That's it. I'm just submitting that, and then the magic's going to happen. And let's see what we have. Let's go to the search service. And here we should see the skill set that we just created. Cool. We have the data source, which is where we're pulling from. We have the indexer, and you can tell it was successful, and it worked on all 3 of the JSON files that we gave it. And here, let's look at the index. So the index, here is where you can kind of test how the search is actually working. And so here, I'm just not going to put in a query string. I'm just going to press search, and you see this is what it gives back if I don't have any kind of query string to give it. So very cool. You can tell this is just the JSON file that I gave it with this unique identifier of the storage path, and it gave back a list of key phrases, which is very cool. And that they did that for all of them. And you can tell there's some accuracy issues, but I think it's still kind of a fun thing. And you can tell here, these are the common phrases that they found there. So super easy. You can just create search app. So this is kind of a feature in preview that lets you just create a search app based on the search data that you have right away. So let's do this. And I'm just going to give, this is just what the individual results will look like. So I'm going to give it a title, and the description is just going to be a description. Easy enough. Let's make all of this, so this makes it so that you can filter on the sidebar. And I want my users to be able to filter on all of these except for the storage path. I don't think users really care, and I also don't think users care about the ID. So that's that. And then next, suggestions of search box. So what do we want our suggestions to be based off of? And we already said we want them to be based off of key phrases. So cool. Now we can open this search file, and let's see, empty query string, which is the asterisk, is going to give us back all 3 of the books that we've indexed. Let's see, what if I want to search Harry Potter? Cool, it gives us back this one. And so here what you can see is it's actually searching based on key phrases. So it shows you that we have these key phrases, and then we also have kind of here in the body, this is where it says the phrase that I'm looking for. So yeah. And then if you want to talk about white supremacy, also cool. So now it kind of shifts. So the reason that this, so it's like the behavior is, I think, a little strange. So you'll realize that if I search for something like Potter, it'll give me back this. But if I search for something like, well, Harry Potter will still give me this. But if I search for a lot of words, like if I especially search for something like Prisoner of Azkaban, and I search that, they're actually all going to come back. And that's because I suspect that they are just searching for any of these words. And so because they all contain probably the word of, and we can verify that by just leaving the of there, that they're all going to pull up with the most relevant one on top. So I think there are a lot of things that you can tinker around with here. Another thing is you can, so right now I'm showing like all the key phrases. So if I type Harry Potter, you'll realize that you see all the key phrases. So there are a couple things you can tinker around here where you only show kind of the one that's being matched right now. And you can also kind of not show the field name, so it doesn't show to users that you have kind of the key phrases field that you're helping them search on. And then there's also here, no matter what you're searching, it kind of shows you all of the description text. And this is something that you can change just by going into this HTML file, and there's a field where you can take that out. So there's a bunch of customizations that you can make here, but basically this is kind of a really quick and dirty way of getting a search working.